everyone, welcome to another video. Today I want to share with you how to do some stenciling with the Crafters Workshop. Before I do that though, I want to remind you to follow me across social media. Those links are going to be down in the description box below. Also, if you haven't already, you can click the subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me. And if you enjoy this video, you can click the like button as well. That always helps. For my stenciling today, I am going to be using the Newport Tile stencil from the Crafters Workshop. This is the 6x6 form. All the supplies I'm using, they're always going to be listed down in the description box. So if you have any questions about colors of ink, stencils I'm using, that kind of thing, it's all going to be listed and linked down there so you can easily find it. Now I'm starting off with an A2 size panel. What I like to do is tape the front of it down once I get it centered and exactly where I want it. Then I flip it over and tape the stencil from behind. I can flip it back over and remove the tape from the front. So then I've got my A2 size panel without any ink marks around it or anything. I can fill up the whole panel with ink without having to make this bigger than I would normally. So for my first step, I'm going to go ahead and do some ink blending. I'm using two colors here. I'm using Espresso Truffle and Peanut Brittle. These are both Memento Dew Drop inks, and I'm just ink blending very quickly with this blending brush. Now this is a part where you can go crazy if you want to. You can do a rainbow of colors, you can do one color, you can do however much you want to do. But once you get your ink on there, you want to go ahead and make sure you get all of the ink that's kind of left over on that stencil off. Get off as much as you can. Then you need to pick up your gel medium and gloss. This will work with the matte, but it's not going to resist the ink as well. This is the best way to get that nice resist look. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a palette knife and just smush this through my stencil. You want to make sure you get this completely covered with a nice thin layer. So I'm taking my time here, making sure it's nice and smooth. One thing, you might want to do little batches of this because whatever you have that you use, you're not going to be able to kind of put it back in your jar. Inevitably there's going to be some ink left on your stencil. It's going to pick up that color. You don't want to add that back to your jar of nice clean gel medium. Once I have that smushed through, I can go ahead and remove my stencil and then I'll set this aside to dry. It looks like it's cloudy right now, but I promise this dries clear and glossy, and here is a closer look at it once it's all dried. It's got a nice glossy finish. It's going to resist this ink, and it's nice and smooth because we took our time with the gel medium. Now for my next color, I'm going to use Pistachio. This is a nice olivey green color ink, and I'll just use a finger dauber to put this through all of the places where it's just plain cardstock. Now again, I'm using one color of ink here. You can again go crazy if you want to. You can blend a bunch of colors through here. So you could do a rainbow that is glossy. You could do a rainbow that you then ink blend onto if you wanted to. Or you can keep it really simple and do one color, cover that with the gloss, let it dry, and then come back in and put the same exact color through. It's going to be a little bit different though, so you'll have two different finishes on there. I think that would be gorgeous. Now I'm going to go ahead and smush this through. It's going to look a little bit patchy, but this kind of soaks into the paper and it evens itself out. Now there is going to be some ink that pulls up on top of the glossy finish. Just use a dry cloth to buff that away, and then you've got this gorgeous finished background. I love the way this looks with all the different textures and the finishes going on. It looks so neat. It almost looks like wallpaper, a really high-end wallpaper if you will. So once I had that done, it was time to just kind of move on and finish this card off. I wanted to keep it really simple, so I used this little hello sentiment, stamped it on a white cardstock flag banner, layered up some different flag banners behind it, an olive green and a craft one, threw those together, and then I'm going to put everything onto an A2 card base. So I'm going to start off with my background. I really want this to be the focal point, so all I did was add some adhesive on the back and place that on an A2 side folding card base that I'm using horizontally. Then I'll go ahead and put those flag banners on with a little bit of dimensional adhesive and just trim those off to make sure it's nice and flush with the card. Now I did this after I finished the inside, so this is a little bit out of, but I'm going to go ahead and add in these pale gold Nouveau drops, just a little sprinkling around the card wherever I think it needs it. Now I like to save this for the very, very last step. That way I can set this aside to dry and I don't chance opening up the card, working on the inside, and then messing up those drops. I like to finish off the inside of my cards, add a little decoration to them as well, so I find that doing that first, Then coming back and putting anything wet on the outside that needs dry time is the way to go for me. There's a closer look at the finished outside before we go on to the inside. I'm going to keep this really simple on the inside. I'm using that same Newport tile stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. I'm just going to line up one row of those little circles. I'm going to mask off the very top of this so I've got a nice line across there, a very solid line. So I'm just using masking tape for that. Then I'll use that same pistachio ink and the finger dauber that I used before, and I'll just add the ink right through the stencil onto the inside of the card base. I'm doing this at the very bottom of the card. Now, once I did this, I did remove the tape and everything. I left this blank without a sentiment inside, but this would be gorgeous to add a sentiment right to the top of that line on the right-hand side. You could do it right above the stenciling. You could do it in the stenciling if you wanted to and add some nice dimension there. But I kept this nice and simple, and I'll just write on the inside whenever I use this card. Whenever I need to pull off the tape, I do it straight across, kind of fold it back on itself, and that really helps not to rip the cardstock. And there's a closer look at the finished inside of the card as well. Just a little stenciling to dress it up. A few more looks at the outside of the card as well. I absolutely love, love, love this technique. It gives us such a nice, clean, finish resist look. That is going to do it for me today, though. There are going to be links on the left side of your screen you can click on. You can also subscribe to my channel over there. Head down to the description box for a lot more information. Thanks for watching, and happy crafting.